Now, John Basuma sent me a text message a while ago, and I sent a copy to Alan and Jim because it's fairly long, and he's asked a couple of questions in, and I thought they might appreciate a bit of prior knowledge. If I don't know whether they saw it or not, but anyway, John sent it to me just a while ago. Abiraterone has stopped working. Oncologist has put him on a stronger steroid in the hope of getting a few extra months out of abiraterone. John has terrible insomnia. Do we have any suggestions? He's tried one drug for insomnia. I don't know how you pronounce it. TRMAZAPAN. And he's worried about addiction from it. He'll probably have to have chemo again, and he may also be transferring over to Declan and the Peter Mac. So I thought if he transfers over to Declan and the Peter Mac, that'd be a step in the right direction for him. So it would. Alan or Jim, do you have any comments to make on John's text message?
No, I'll just tell Tony that I muted him because everybody has to be muted except when they want to speak.
Welcome, Tony.
Yeah, welcome.
I had a comment
Yes,
on the abiraterone. I've been using that for a long time and still am. The so-called stronger steroid is most likely dexamethasone, taking the place of prednisone. You use it at about 1/5 the amount because it's a lot more potent. There's a small study that's been done to indicate that it does provide slightly more effective than the prednisone combination with Zytiga. Small study. I've been doing it because of the study. Nothing much else to add, excepting in my case it's worked well. Second one, I'm wondering, Declan Murphy is a urologist at Peter Mac. I'm just wondering why someone who's got advanced cancer using abiraterone would be talking to Declan rather than a medical oncologist. But maybe it's worth, given the uncertainty of Zytiga going down the track, perhaps it's worth having a chat at Peter Mac with the group down there that is managing the lutetium treatment. It could be something certainly worth talking about, Michael Hoffman and his team. So it's worth passing those things on, perhaps. As far as the insomnia goes, you mentioned diazepam, which is a possibility. It should be used as a circuit breaker, not as a crutch. It's a bit of a mixed metaphor, but you know what I mean. I guess the usual things of not eating too late, not eating too much at night, particularly carbohydrates, so that you're not too hot. Making sure you're not too hot generally with bedding and using a fan, that sort of thing. And during the day, preferably earlier in the day, a significant amount of exercise. It would be my prescription. That's all from me.
Nev.
Thanks, Alan.
Just want to comment on Declan Murphy. He may be a urologist, but I'm certain he knows much more than any other urologist in Australia, and perhaps more than a lot of oncologists. So I wouldn't be too down on Declan.
Oh, no, absolutely not. That wasn't the intention, and I agree completely, Jim. Yeah. But
I understand the comment. Yes.
The door, Declan's door, might be a door to Michael Hoffman too, though. That's because a pathway. So it might, which would be to John's benefit. Yes, Peter.
As far as the insomnia goes, Nev, I had extreme insomnia when I first started on the ADT, and in consultation with the oncologist, my GP prescribed Muralax, which is oxazepam, which has similar effects to diazepam, but it's fairly non-addictive. And as Alan said, you can use it sparingly, or you could use it several times a day. But I find one tablet at night helps, rock me to sleep.
Thanks for that, Peter. Yeah. Anybody else had any experience with any of these insomnia drugs? Well, thanks everyone for their input. So I don't think we can do much more for John at the moment while he's not here. Is anybody? Oh, Tony, yeah, just, I only half welcomed you earlier, so it's good to see you here. All the best for the new year. Yeah, you're muted, Tony. Anyone else got a comment to make, or tell a story about themselves, or give us an update? Yes, Peter?
Well, I've tested out the artificial urinary sphincter fairly aggressively over the Christmas break. I'd been leading the life of a hermit basically since, for nearly 2 years. My wife and I decided to go down and visit her mum in Swan Reach in Victoria, which is out near Lakes Entrance. 3,668 kilometres later, we got back home. We decided to drive because we wanted to see a bit of the countryside. And yes, my bladder was absolutely tested to the limit from the motion of the car on the road. They reckon the Bruce Highway is pretty bad in Queensland, but the roads in some of the country areas of New South Wales and Victoria are pretty horrendous. So I found that by staging it every 2.5, 3 hours, that we could pull up at a rest stop somewhere, a service centre, a small township that might have a public toilet, that we were able to get through each day. We paced ourselves. It took us a couple of nights to get down there. Once we were with her mum turned 94 on the 3rd of January and still lives home alone on the old family farm. So hats off to whoever invented the artificial urinary sphincter, because I wouldn't have been able to do the trip without it, I can tell you that. And probably not the right forum, but the state of some of the public toilets when you're driving leaves a lot to be desired. But yeah, it was a successful trip.
Thanks for that, Peter. I'm glad you made it down there and back safely, and it's really good news to hear that your artificial sphincter is working up to your expectations. And if you're going for 3 hours, it's time you stop then anyway. So it is. You should when you're driving those long distances, you need to stop frequently, because you don't want to get too tired. So you don't. No, that's good news. Any questions to Peter or comments? Yes, Jim?
Peter, there is a map of all public toilets available, and it's very, very useful. My limit is 2 hours before I pass a public toilet. More than that, you can get a key that will open public toilets that are usually locked. There is a lot of the public toilets are locked for some hours, and others are just locked except to anyone with a key. So the same people who do the public toilet map, the master, whatever they are, master keysmiths or some such, that they will provide you with the key for $20. And it works, all of them that have a key in Australia. Thanks, Nev.
Thanks, Jim. I didn't know about that, so I didn't. But motel's usually good at night time instead of a public toilet anyway. So, anyone else got a question or a comment to Peter?
Just a comment from Mark.
Yes, Mark.
Yeah, most pubs will let you go in and use the toilet if you just say, look, may I use your toilet? They recognise your age and they say, sure, just there. And they're often a lot cleaner.
Yeah, that's a good comment. Yeah.
Better maintained, you know. And,
yeah.
I think your sphincter is giving you regular rests, which is good when you're driving.
Yeah.
About 2 hours on the drive, stop, make a cup of tea or whatever, use the toilet. But yeah, local pubs are a good source of a cleaner toilet.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that, but you're right, it would be. Yeah.
Probably fast food places are another. McDonald's.
Yep. Except in Mount Isa, Alan. Except in Mount Isa.
Okay, take your word for that.
Yeah. I thought McDonald's were all supposed to be clean too, but not in Mount Isa. Not the time we were there. I didn't get as far as the toilet. I didn't even get past where you go to get a meal. So we just walked out again. So we did. But anyway, I digress. Anyone else got a comment or a question? Or an update? I'm desperate.
Tony here, can you hear me?
Yes, Tony.
Sorry,
Mark.
I had mute on. Yeah, I was in a McDonald's, believe it or not, a short while ago, and there was a never-ending procession of geriatric people making their way to the toilet there. And I don't know what the condition of the toilet was, but normally they're not too bad. So as Alan said, you know, fast food places are another sort of place to try and get into.
Thanks, Tony. Mark, did you want to say something? Add to that?
No,
Oh, sorry.
sorry, it doesn't add to that topic, you know. No.
Have you got something else you want to comment on, or?
Oh, just to share where I'm at, you know. That's all.
Yeah, fair enough. That's good.
Yeah. Well, first of all, good news is that I tolerate my medications very well. Zytiga for PSA control. So I don't have an urge now. I just have an ornament down there, you know. And PSA is regularly about 0.008. So that is good. And yeah, I think, and also I have prednisolone and you know, I have other stuff for diabetes type 2 and heart medication. But I tolerate them well, which is good. My significant challenge, which started probably around about a third of the way through last year, is I don't know what it is, but it's sort of a reluctance to go out and exercise. I just find it hard to G up to do it, you know. I've started to do that, you know, just morning walks and stuff like that, and looked at some facilities where I can do something like Pilates or something like that, which was very good to me prior to my diagnosis in November 21. It's just that I think I was carried along and participating in the program when I was having my chemotherapy and all that sort of stuff, you know, and I found that was okay. I was participating in the program, doing my bit for my own health, and that all ended, and I have Alligard, I think it is, injection every 84 days. And so I have to sort of generate that motivation, make the choice to do it for myself. And yeah, so that's where my effort is to get back into doing that. Probably more so, I say, just seeing the benefit and hearing people talk about the importance of exercise, particularly in the morning, is encouraging. Yeah, but anyway, look, that's where I'm at. People say I look well, and I suppose physically I do. I don't have any adverse effects going on inside my body that are, I forget what the word would be, not debilitating, but less than that, less severe. I still have left over from the chemotherapy program earlier in 22, I think it was. I still have the neuropathy in my feet. My tips of my fingers have still got it. I'm not quite as dexterous as, but I can mostly pick up a pin now, so without swearing. And I do find that, I don't know whether just I've stepped into another age bracket or whatever, but since I commenced the treatment for prostate cancer, my level of irritability has sort of increased. Frustration. Firstly, it was frustration at trying to get a button done up, and I just break out and say, "Oh, bloody thing," or something like that. But I still find that I still have a base level of increased level of irritability and frustration. I don't know whether that is a symptom or an ongoing thing from the treatment, which has finished, except for my continuing hormone treatment and the prednisolone I take each morning and the Zytiga. Yeah, so that's where I'm at, Yeah. Oh, and middle of last year, I found it discouraging to try and ride my bicycle because it was more difficult to get up an incline and do that sort of thing. So I did purchase an electric bike, and that was so much better. That's so much better. The model I've got has got 4 levels of power assist, and I usually use the second one, but I find that so good. It's just been so too hot to get out there and cycle unless you go out very, very early in the morning here in Brisbane. It's just very hot. And yeah, so I guess it's up to me, and I'm sharing this with you just to relate my situation, but also to hear myself telling you, so that I'm sort of in a way owning my situation, Yeah, that's it. The one other question I would have for maybe someone could answer, because they mentioned it a meeting or two ago, is that they were due to have 6 chemotherapies and they didn't have the 6th one because they reckon they didn't want to get a neuropathy. And I didn't know that was more or less a last dose onset thing, because I started to get that, earlier on in my treatment program. So I was just interested to hear that, just to pick it up. And I said, wow, why would you stop the 6th one? Is it a sudden onset thing for some people or what? So, yeah. All right. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Mark. Alan, you wanted to make a comment?
Couple. Firstly, on the motivation for exercise, there's nothing earth-shattering about this, but it's certainly a fact that it takes 3 or 4 weeks of active decision making before it becomes in your brain routine. Once it's become routine, by simply having done it for that amount of time, it's amazing how you don't want to not do it. You seem to be programmed, if you like. And I know I go to the gym 3 mornings a week. I've just come back from this morning, and it took a while, a few weeks, but you really have to commit to that period, not a lifetime, and then it'll go on to automatic mode. So trust it, the process works. And the other benefit of the gym, or something similar, is you've got a social connection there as well, because you get to know people, you get to chat with people there, and vice versa. You make some new friends as well. It just provides a bit of informal accountability, which just helps the commitment. So I just recommend that. I think the electric bike's a great move. Stick with that to try and pick up time of the day when it's nice to do. Something else you mentioned. Something else I was going to mention. I was going to ask you, have you had a bone density test? It's a question I often ask because people with advanced cancer often haven't. And it's very important that ADT does tend to degrade bone density, particularly in the first year. So a test for regularly, probably once every 2 years, absolutely important. If you find bone density is dropping or has dropped below a certain level, then you'd need some medication to arrest the process. One thing you don't want down the track is spinal cord compression because of metastases weakening your spine. So just watch it, important. There's one other thing I just forgot what the other one was. No, I think of it, I'll come back.
Yeah. I am undergoing bone mineral density tests. I've actually have been doing that for about 5 years, but only just the last 2 years under the recommendation of the endocrinologist I see to manage type 2 diabetes. Right. And also I was talking to about this exercising with my what do you call them? The one who looks after your cancer. Anyway, and he said, pardon? Oncologist, yes. And he said, look, you know, the hormone treatment program and that, he says it does embrittle your bones and that, but it also you tend to lose muscle mass and stuff like that. You have it's easier to retain fluid and that sort of stuff. And he said, actually, it's just all sort of, you know, sort of working against you in some ways, but benefiting you in a significant way.
Right. Well, the loss of muscle mass is certainly true. And you've got two choices. Just sit there and watch it happen. And you see your capability gradually disappear or try and arrest the process. And certainly resistance exercise in a gym where you're pushing weights or pushing your own weight or elastics, however the program is devised, certainly helps a lot. It helps to arrest the what would otherwise be a steady decline, which is aided and abetted by the fact you're getting older as well. So
probably,
yeah,
probably, yeah. You know that I sort of can accept that as being a plausible contributor as well. You know, his age. I have noticed that I don't have the same muscle power and lifting strength and stuff like that that I use, because before I was diagnosed, I had been doing, you know, 2 classes a week of Pilates, and my body was in pretty good condition. In fact, the phone call time, Jim. It's he said one of the best things that you have going for is that your health conditions, that you come here before your treatment, what you brought with you in terms of health is one of the best things that'll help you through.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. I mean, there's no point in grieving what you've lost. That's a fact of life. But you can do something to arrest change the gradient, if you know what I mean. I remember the other point I wanted to make, which was peripheral neuropathy. I actually have that problem with my feet too, and I've never had chemo. I've only had other treatments, including Zytiga and radiation. But I think long-term use of ADT, in my case it's been 20 years, has been the cause. And that was measured electrically. I don't know whether you've had a diagnosis involving the velocity of transmission of nervous impulses down your leg and into your feet.
No.
There is a test which they do. A urologist can conduct that or arrange for it, and you can quantify it if you wanted to keep track of it. in terms of solutions, you know, there aren't any magic tricks, I'm afraid. It's a matter of keeping your feet warm when you can, if they get cold, with socks, avoiding the risk of damaging your feet if you've got a reasonably advanced case, by being careful what you wear. But yeah, that's about the story I can add. All I can add to that story.
Okay. Thank you, Alan.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. John, he wants to say a word.
Can you hear me? Yeah, good.
Yes, John.
Look, something that helped me straight after I finished my chemo was I was referred on to a exercise physiologist. They gave me a program specifically designed for me, and you can get them. I went to one who specialises in cancer, assisting people with cancer, and they gave me a program. I got to know them. Initially, I think I went every couple of weeks, and then it was monthly. And I'm a bit of a nomad, so I go to Queensland. When I was in Queensland, I'd have Zoom meetings with them, so that they'd keep you on track. You know, it's been a couple of years since I did that, but I now go to the gym fairly regularly. So that is what kicked me off and started me off on the exercise situation, and that might help you. But from a cost perspective, you can go to your local GP and he can give you a referral and also give you a I don't know what they call it, but you get sort of like five reduced sessions with an exercise physiologist from a cost perspective. So that might help you. I don't know. I made a comment about neuropathy because I went through chemo and I didn't do the 6 courses. I stopped at 5, primarily because my wife went through bowel cancer 10 years ago and she has neuropathy, and that's what caused it. So she's takes drugs. She takes 12 drugs every day to keep that at bay. And I didn't want to go down that path. So I thought, okay, well, I'm stopping. When I started to get tingles in my hands and feet, I still get them, but mine aren't too bad. So I hope that helps.
Thanks, John. Appreciate that. Any comments to John or further comments to Mark? Yes, Jim.
For Charles Robinson, Nev can't always see you raise your hand, especially when you got on so early today in the top left of the screen. So when he's saying anyone, just talk until he would hear. Okay, thanks for that.
I wanted to add something about that. You know, I've had a urinary bag fitted. You know, back to the travel and going to the toilet. I'm amazed how good it is, really, especially sleeping at night, where you can sleep right through the night and not have to get up at all. So I'm quite pleasantly surprised how well that works. But that's probably a different case than what because it was quite an advanced bladder cancer I had. So I had the bladder taken out and this external bag put in with a stoma. That's all I wanted to say. I'm quite pleased the way it's going.
Thanks, Charles. I'm really pleased that you're getting a good result of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And it certainly would allow you to have a good night's sleep. You wouldn't have to get up 2 or 3 times through the night. So it doesn't matter how much water you drink or anything.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I can drink coffee at midnight.
Now, I got a question, Mark, to you. How you used to be fairly active on your bicycle? What happened that you stopped that or that decreased? Because there must have been something happened in your life that you eased off that, and now you're trying to get back onto it.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, there is that sort of having to sort of carry myself along or be responsible. my health activities and that. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I did situation in my family where my daughter and my husband look like they're separating and that. It was a very sad thing to hear. And because I had just thought that my family was sort of complete. Both my children had partners and excuse me.
Yeah.
And so that was nice, you know. And then my daughter told me about this situation within her own marriage. So I don't know whether that sort of you know, did flatten me a bit, sort of, you know.
Traumatic event. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And the reality of that is still sort of ongoing. They haven't separated yet. They're just about to enter into what she calls the pointy end of it. That's when you start talking about money, you know. Yeah, I don't know. Specifically, I did enjoy doing those things. I was actually becoming more, getting back into being adventurous with my electric bike, like taking it out to the head of a rail trail and cycling along that sort of surface, you know, which is better with the wide tyres. It's got about 2.5 or 3 inch wide tyres, and it's very, very much better on the gravel. Yeah, I don't have a specific thing. Maybe that that news of the relationship between my daughter and her husband was a contributor. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah. But I do. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear about.
I can't sort of pin it down to a specific thing. Although I suppose some of these things take more impact on your system than you're aware. You know.
Well, that's very possible. Yeah.
But even now, just in the last few weeks, I have started to feel a bit of tedium at having to take this program of pills. You know, so I should actually take Alan's comments about getting into something more beneficial and setting myself up at the level of involvement in that, so that's self-regenerative, you know. And that has sort of that surprised me in an alarm way, is that I've started to sort of feel that and it is a regime of taking pills is starting to, a tedium sort of aspect is starting to creep in, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just have to watch the slippery slope.
But yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Peter wants to make a comment or ask a question. Mark? Peter?
Well, I wasn't too sure whether Jim has to go at 9 o'clock, didn't you say, Jim, for a phone call, or have you? It's afternoon.
I only realised it a few minutes ago.
Oh.
Yeah, and I thought he's just going to have to wait. We might be finished in not too long.
Okay.
It's a very entertaining call from this guy. He leads a very different life.
Okay. Mark, I just a couple of queries in relation to your motivation. Do you feel so lethargic you've got to have nano naps during the day?
No, I rarely sleep during the day. Rarely. I find it. I have sometimes gone and laid down and surprised myself when I wake up an hour or two later. I tend to start to nod off, you know, if I'm watching something on TV, you know, after dinner and that sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I ask is because I'm on 3 lots of ADT, and I've been through the mill with chemo and radiotherapy. I'm an ex-power lifter. I used to coach shot put, discus and javelin. I was always in the gym, but I've had so many injuries and then followed by cancer and the cancer treatments that I find motivation is extremely lacking, and I often have to have 2 sleeps a day as well as at night time. So I was just curious as to whether your motivation is because you're so tired, or whether it's just a lack of motivation because it's, as you said, too tedious.
It could be affected by that, like yeah. Often I'll get up about twice a night to go to the toilet, Sometimes I would actually sleep right through, surprise myself in the morning when the alarm goes off, because it actually wakes me. I'm not lying there waiting for it to go ding. Okay. It could be. I know I went for about nearly an hour's walk a few days ago, and then I was sitting at my table there, and I was going to go to the men's shed, which I have just recently started to go to, and I felt tired then. I did, and I have had a period some years ago when I was a little bit overweight of what they call post-exercise malaise, and but I'm not that weight now, but I was surprised that I was just feeling so tired, just to, just like the humidity sort of knocks me to here, and I'm just noticing these things as they occur, my experience of it.
Yeah, you said you're in Brisbane.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so, well, I'm at Woody Point.
Oh, okay. You're near the ocean, though, you see, like Nev, and
but I haven't got that as a backdrop.
yeah, I'm aware of that. We've got to joke about something and laugh with ourselves. I've given up saying I laugh at myself. I now laugh with myself. Yeah. And I live at Forest Lake, which is a bit inland and the southern extremity of the Brisbane Council area. So we get some pretty hot days, as you would, but we don't get a sea breeze.
Well, as far as
sorry, Peter.
As far as the tedium of taking tablets, I'm on 21 tablets a day.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, bloody hell. Yeah.
And well,
I hear what you're saying, and I acknowledge you for you're keeping on going, aren't you?
Yeah. 6 of those are ADT.
Wow.
So that's enzalutamide and spironolactone. And then I have deferraline injections, which I'm due for in another couple of weeks.
Wow. Oh, that's heavy. Just hearing it, as a program. That's I acknowledge your strength in continuing.
Hey Peter, what's your current PSA, Peter?
0.11.
Oh, you're doing well.
Pretty good.
Which men's shed are you considering going to, Mark?
I know. I joined. I go to. It's just that's the quarter hour. I go to the Centenary Suburbs men's shed.
Oh, righto.
Which used to be near Jindalee golf course, just in a shed, and then they got grants and they moved to their own site, and it's a pretty big enterprise, I can tell you. So they have certain works that they've agreed. There's this company that makes sort of wooden boxes which open out, and it's like to put photos in. And the company used to make them for the contractor, but it wasn't working well. So they bought all the machinery, and they have that in the woodworking shed, in the men's shed. And so the members of the men's shed do the various parts of making those boxes, and then they get a certain amount from this company, and that's one of the main income streams of the shed, just to keep going and to be able to support the growth of the shed. And so yesterday when I went there, because I hadn't been involved in much, I've only been a few times, But I decided that I would start doing something like that, you know, like I was finishing off a box and putting some sort of shellac stain on it and then beeswax and that when I was finishing sanding and that. So, and I felt that was quite good. Plus, I was talking to somebody off and on during the process, you know, and this guy, he instructed me how to do it, and then he watched me do it to see that I was sort of I'd got the skills and the technique to do them, you know. Yeah, so I think that's good. That's good. It's good to be part of the you know, getting to know the guys, you know, at morning tea and that sort of stuff, you know. Yeah,
absolutely. Al?
Yeah, just a quick one that on the fatigue thing, Peter mentioned enzalutamide, and enzalutamide's a bit notorious for causing fatigue. But from what I've read, it's better with nanonaps to try and limit nanonaps to 20 minutes, 30 minutes, perhaps, not to go to bed and sleep for a couple of hours, and try and maintain a good sleep hygiene at night so that you really make it as routine as possible. Just a point that I just add on that tiredness. You don't want it to interfere with your motivation. That's a fair comment that Peter made.
No, that's true, and I hadn't thought about that. You know,
to make sure that you don't overdose.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thanks very much.
Yeah. Thanks, Alan. That's probably a fair point to make. Don't sleep too much in the daytime at one hit. So yeah. Tony Maxwell, he's been on enzalutamide for years and years and years.
What's enzalutamide, may I ask?
What's the other?
another name for it on the box?
Oh yeah, they've all got another name.
Enzalutamide is known as Xtandi. It's a second generation version of ADT. It sits inside abiraterone, if you like. It's extremely effective as the second line of defence after, or in conjunction with, I should say, ADT.
Yeah, okay. I think mine is Zytiga tablets, and also the
prednisone.
Eligard. Prednisolone.
Oh yeah, Eligard. Yeah, I'm on Eligard.
Eligard injections every 84 days. Yeah.
Thanks, Peter.
Yeah, Tony here. I've been on Lucrin and since 2003 and enzalutamide since 2014, and I'm still on it. So I've got a long history there. I feel the odd man out in this conversation. All you guys are sort of, you know, doing things and jumping around and going to the gym and exercising, as Alan says, and I'm sure that's all very nice, but the fatigue levels that I suffer from hormone treatment mean that I just have a huge barrier there, which I've never really been able to overcome. I feel that I should be trying to overcome it, and I'm sure I'd probably get some benefit if I did, but so far I haven't. However, I've separated from my wife after many years and settled into a new place in Sydney, and I decided I'd go on a bloody cruise the week before Christmas, and it was around southern Australia, just about 12 or 13 nights, something like that. Melbourne, Adelaide and surrounding areas, and then down to Tasmania, Hobart. And I was booked into an excursion on the day we were in Hobart to go up Mount Wellington. So we jumped in the bus. The bus got about 3/4 of the way up the mountain, and it expired. It was cactus. There was smoke pouring out of the back of it, and we're all sort of milling around on the road. So we then spent about an hour milling around in that general area, and it was bloody cold, but we did various things. And then finally another bus came up to the top and then down to the Botanic Gardens on the way back to the ship. When I got to the ship, I was pretty well buggered. I had a sandwich, and I retired to my cabin for a nanonap. which was really good.
Mm.
Woke up from that in time for the sailaway heading back towards Sydney. So
Mhm.
I can do things, but
Mm.
I'm not. I haven't pushed myself beyond what I'm comfortable doing. I walked up yesterday to the shopping centre here.
Mhm.
I probably it's pretty well level, slight uphill and downhill inclines. But I had to, particularly on the uphills, I had to stop about half a dozen times or about 10 times to get my breath.
Mm.
I was sort of so exhausted just doing a walk like that.
Mm.
There is a barrier there for me,
Mm.
but I hear what everybody else is saying, and I wouldn't dispute that at all. And I'm lucky that my PSA is now. Well, I had another test done yesterday, so I don't know the result of that yet, but it'll probably be at about 0.01 or something like that after the stereotactic radiation I had in 2022,
Mm.
the cancer in the lymph node. So things are looking pretty good PSA wise,
Mm.
but the ongoing side effects of chemotherapy, not chemotherapy, hormone therapy,
Mm.
in my case is quite severe.
Mm.
I've been putting up with it now for 20 years, over 20 years.
I'm amazed at how long people have been under treatment.
Yeah.
And they're still here to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You will be. You will be too, Mark.
That's
Don't
what
worry.
Alan
Thank
and I
you.
say to each other.
Yeah, no, ever since I think I spoke with people, Jim, you were one of them down at that, what was it, some RSL we went to down there, Browns Plains.
Yeah.
That Meet the People day, you know, I was
Greenbank.
amazed at just,
Yeah.
yeah, Greenbank. I was amazed at just how many years people have been sort of, you know, living with this condition and under treatment programs, you know. So yeah. One thing I do enjoy, and I've got to get there, and is I do park run, which mine's not a run, it's a walk. It's a 5 kilometre walk, and I can do that in about 42 minutes, which I think is not too bad. One thing I notice about that, and hopefully with the gym and the men's shed, is that I'm doing it in the company of other people. And I see other people walking along there, and people who you wouldn't think would have a fitness level to be doing this, but they are doing it. And so inside I just say, wow, good on you, you know? And you just celebrate, well, you know, I just celebrate the fact that they're doing it, you know, and that's great, you know, just to do that. So I find that a good thing to do, but I think I work better in company, and I probably work better in a tuitional type of environment. So I think that's keys to myself, is to find places where I can use those extra enhancements towards improving, you know, getting myself back to a more comfortable feeling of health. Yeah.
How often does the men's shed? How often do they meet at the men's shed? Mark?
They have Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and so far working on stuff. I think I've been about 3 Thursdays. I have been, you know, and because some things might be happening where, you know, if my partner comes over for the weekend, she doesn't leave until around about halfway through Monday morning, and getting up and buzzing off to the men's shed is probably not such a good thing. Although I'm always surprised that married people do that stuff, you know, they get out of the house and go and do things, and it's okay. But if you're not married, it's why aren't you spending time with me?
Fair enough. I got no comment to make on that.
Yeah. That used to be the case when I used to do paddling, you know, paddle a kayak, and a member of a club and same sort of thing, you know. And yeah, it's always surprised me, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe a marriage license is a license to do other things too. I don't know. But I live on my own, so and that's probably yeah, I don't have that sort of shared company, you know, on an everyday basis. But anyway, that's life. But yeah.
There's a men's shed at Bundamba as well. It's fairly popular
I did
too.
look into that. Excuse me. I did look into it. I looked into the Forest Lake one, which only does woodwork. I looked into the Oxley one. And also there, I did join for a year or two the Mount Gravatt one. And that's quite a big men's shed. But to get to there, to do stuff, you've got to get through the morning traffic.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
You know, so this is near yeah, the Centenary Men's Shed is near it's not Mount Omni, it's the one before that. Not that far from where I am, probably a 15, 20 minute drive.
Jim.
Yeah.
For Mark.
Yes.
Also in the Centenary suburbs is Cinnamon Park Village. It has two things. One is it has a gym, but secondly, it has an exercise physiologist.
Within the gym?
He works in, or she works in the gym, yeah. And unfortunately, that they don't have the social thing anymore. I used to go there and the social thing was great. And then they said, oh no, you can come at any time now.
Yeah.
The whole group broke up. So.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. I might look into that. Yeah, this gym that I'm looking at, the Good Life gym, is out near Richland Station, so out the outskirts of Forest Lake. But what they have a level of membership there where you can do reformer Pilates classes, you know. So that might be good. It is a good form of strength and flexibility work, you know, reformer Pilates. But I might look into this Cinnamon Park Village, you know, exercise Philip. Okay, thanks, Jim. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Could I ask a question about enzalutamide?
Yes, Charles.
I've been on enzalutamide for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. And when I was first got on it, it was because the ADT had stopped working. And to get the PBS costing for it, you had the PBS, and ADT had to stop working. So I've only been on that, not only any other ADT. And so is that changed now? Because I heard some of you guys said you're on both.
Yes, Peter.
Charles, for me to be on enzalutamide, I had to be classed as castrate-resistant prostate cancer.
Right.
So in other words, the deferraline on its own wasn't bringing my PSA levels down. They were actually starting to rise.
Right.
So once it's classed as castrate-resistant, the enzalutamide can be provided under the PBS. But if you go onto enzalutamide straight away, it's not.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it is now. I'm not too sure what it would have been in your time, Tony.
Yeah, I'm a little bit uncertain about the exact rules of that at the moment, but my history was that I got onto enzalutamide in 2014 on a clinical trial where everybody got it at the start. And I was on that until 2022. And on the trial, in other words, I was one of the few guys that was still getting some benefit out of it, but it was beginning to fail. At that point, I was told that enzalutamide became available on PBS, for whatever conditions or whatever the conditions were, and I could go onto it, which I had to do because when I had my radiation, the stereotactic radiation, I immediately had to go off the trial because you can't have, you know, combinations of things happening at the same time. So I went on to enzalutamide, then on PBS, which I've been on ever since. So effectively, I've been getting enzalutamide for nothing since 2014, and I'm still on it today. And I take 4 tablets a night each night.
Yeah, I'm similar.
Yeah.
There was an email from Chuck Mack in America this morning, and you can have enzalutamide now in the US before you have metastases. Yeah, you can have it with Eligard and enzalutamide straight up front. Jim?
All by itself. That FDA approval in November could be followed by an Australian TGA approval and PBS approvals. Their record at following the FDA approvals recently has been very good. So watch this space.
But they still have to pay for it in America, though, don't they? Unless the insurance pays for it. Okay, I didn't know that.
Thanks, Jim, for that. Any other questions or comments? Anyone got something they want to tell us about themselves? Or yes, Alan?
A very quick update. Most of you would know I've got a 20-year history, a bit like Tony. We've been tracking each other for quite a while, haven't we? I did go through, I've been using abiraterone Zytiga for quite a number of years now after the straight ADT by itself began to fail. I ultimately went off all the cancer meds because the PSA was continuing to remain at virtually undetectable levels, but fairly quickly actually came back again. Still restricted to nodes in the pelvis and lower diaphragm. I had stereotactic treatment, the same as Tony has had, which was very effective on a single lymph node without using meds. And within a year, I found I had another recurrent lymph node. So this time we agreed to resume the meds, same as before, ADT plus Zytiga. And I've had another round of treatment, which again has driven PSA off the scale. This time it looks as though it's staying off the scale, at least for longer than the previous one did. So combination treatment, as per the research, does seem to be more effective than SBRT alone. I mentioned also that I've come across thyroid cancer, and that was in the course of a PSMA PET scan. So it was a pretty incidental finding, but that after a thyroidectomy it proved to be metastatic as well. So I've got 2 cancers that are roaming around my body. I've had IMRT, intensity modulated radiotherapy, which is a pretty tightly mapped form of radiotherapy to deal with a whole bunch of mets around the lungs and to some within the lungs. The first PET scan following that looked pretty promising. It cut the size of the metastatic lymph nodes down to something like half what they were in general, and correspondingly less reduced metabolic activity. But this is an FDG PET that they use to monitor that, not the PSMA version. And second scan I had just recently, unfortunately, indicated that although it had cleaned up a lot of them, there are 2 or 3 resistant lymph nodes. So we'll be keeping an eye on those for the next 3 months a CT scan at the end of that period to check on where it's at, and I'm looking at systemic treatment after that to manage them. I did have a genomic profile done at the suggestion of the medical oncologist here in Geelong, who fortunately is specialised in thyroid cancer, and that showed a particular set of mutations, which is not too uncommon in cancer, particularly in melanoma, but also in prostate cancer and now in thyroid cancer. It's a so-called BRAF V600 mutation, and there are very specific systemic treatments for that version, and one of these is a trial at Peter Mac, so that's a potential candidate as well, but we're not there yet. So, just in a nutshell.
Good on you, Alan.
Thanks, Alan. Tony?
I was just saying, keep at it to Alan. He's, if anybody can manage this sort of situation, I think Alan's probably number one to do that. So good on you, mate.
Yeah, we certainly all agree with that. That's for sure. We're sorry that you've got thyroid cancer, Alan, but yeah, we all wish you well with it, as well as the other one.
Well, it's not stopping me doing anything.
No, but yeah, I'm sure it's got to be in the back of your mind every now and again.
Oh, baby. So, I don't get too anxious. As long as there are options for treatment, and I try and keep ahead of the game with that. And I've got treating physicians who, I must say, at least here in Geelong, are fantastic in terms of keeping in touch with each other. There's a multidisciplinary team that reviews my case periodically, endocrinologist, a thyroid oncologist, the original ENT surgeon, and the radio oncologist that's been doing my radio treatment. So I really could not ask for better support. Been fantastic.
Yeah, to have confidence in the team treating is always a good help, isn't it? Absolutely. So it is. Yeah. Do you have any contact with Michael Hoffman at all?
I did. It was Michael that I talked to, thinking that we could, from something I'd read, use lutetium to hit both the prostate cancer, which was alive and well when I saw him, and the thyroid cancer together. But unfortunately, the PSMA expression, which lutetium needs to be effective on the cell, in the case of prostate, happens on the cell surface, on the membrane, but in the case of the thyroid mets, happens in the so-called microvasculature, which is the little miniature blood vessels inside the tumour, and that really makes it inaccessible to the lutetium.
Right.
So we had to abandon that, and Michael suggested the next step was IMRT, which is what I did.
Right. Yeah, good. Thank you. All the best with all that. Any other questions to Alan, or comments from anyone else, or anyone update their story? Anyone else to update their story?
Yeah, Tony here. I'll just throw something else into the mix. I've had contact in the past with a researcher in Melbourne called Katie Owen, and Alan nods his head, and I know why. Katie provided us with a research proposal back in 2021, which was the longest and densest research proposal I think I've ever written. I think Alan commented the same. I think she then got money from PCFA and has been doing some pretty good work there, and there's been sort of some announcements of various move aheads going on there through PCFA, the people there. I've never had much to do with the theranostic side of things, Michael Hoffman at Peter Mac and all the rest of it, but I have been getting a series of invitations, which I won't be taking up because I'm a pensioner and I can't afford it, to go to some conference in Melbourne in March, which is a sort of a preceptorship, they call it, in regard to researchers and clinicians using theranostics and presumably lutetium and associated stuff through Peter Mac. And so I'm not involved in that, but I keep getting things on it. And then about 3 days ago, believe it or not, I got an email from Katie Owen again. And she was sort of chasing up how I was going and blah, blah, blah. And I sort of filled her in on that point of detail. But she also sort of hinted at the fact that I was talking about doing a plain English version of this horrible proposal that she'd done in 2021. Now, maybe somebody else has done that by now, I don't know. So anyway, I went back to her in the last day or so, and I'm waiting on getting a reply from her in regard to that. But she has moved from wherever she was, maybe at Peter Mac, and is working more closely with Michael Hoffman, is my understanding, in the theranostic side of things there. So with her, and she's talking very much about the immune system. And I'm saying to her, look, I can't understand. I had a gleasonate cancer that went to my lymph node 20 years ago, and it sat there and has never gone to the bone. Once it goes to the bone, that's, you've got a bad situation. I said, why is that so? And some people sort of, claim it's their diet and they're this and they're that. She said, no, it's not all of that. She said it's probably to do with the tumour load and the interaction of that with your immune system and how well the immune system can fight off the cancer. So anyway, look, I'm just saying that I'm talking to Katie again. Hopefully we'll get some more information shortly. She did ask after Neville Black and the meeting. I said, yeah, we've still got the meeting going. We do it on Zoom. And Nev's still there, and Jim's still there, and Alan's still there, etc., etc. So maybe something will come out of that, and maybe we can get her along to give us a bit of a talk about what the hell she's doing at the moment, where the immune system fits into all of this, what's happening with theranostics and Michael Hoffman and all that sort of stuff. So I'm just raising a flag to say that might be in the wind. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tony. Jim?
Ian, you've just joined as we are closing because we don't have your email address and we don't have your phone number. If you have your phone number, we can SMS you and I'll be meeting.
I've got both. I've got both, Jim.
Did you SMS him?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, Ian.
You're on mute, Ian.
Take it off mute, Dan. Put your mic on.
My fault.
Welcome, Ian.
Thank you. Welcome, guys. We had a hacking situation between now and the last, the first one that I joined. So the computers have all been cleaned and I forgot all about it. So I spent the last hour getting Zoom back on so that I could join the meeting. So sorry about that.
You're fine.
But can I just, what I'm on, gentlemen before talking about having cancer spots in the lymph nodes and then going to the bones. I've in our between times at the start of the month I had a PSMA scan report read to me by Dr. Joshi, and my situation is that it has spread, so it's now in the lymph node, so it's gone from the bones, it's still in the bones, and it's now in the lymph nodes as well.
Right. Alan?
Just a quickie. I don't think it's well understood precisely how cancer migrates to one or the other. It's not too uncommon to have lymph nodes only disease, and it's not too uncommon to have bone only, and it's not too uncommon to have both. All seems a little bit, not understood how this process happens. Obviously, a lot to do with the nature of the particular cancer, most likely at a molecular level, the gene level as to how it works. Has a bit to do with what's called the microenvironment, which is whether the bone is receptive to cancer cells landing there or not. There's a bit more known about that, and there's still a lot of research going on to investigate both. But at this stage, the therapy is no different for both of them. Luck of the draw, really. The only thing is with bone mets, you do need to be careful about tracking your bone health, and denosumab, administered monthly at a higher dose may be important if you've got bone metastases. Probably is. It's something you might want to suss out with your oncologist if you haven't already.
So I've been on denosumab for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years on. Dr. Jossi has actually, and that was monthly, he has actually stopped that and made it 3 monthly, because after, if you take it for too long, monthly, you end up with ulcers in your gums that they cannot get rid of. So it's been stopped. It hasn't been stopped. It's just been gone from monthly now to 3 monthly. I see him in end of March, and looks like he wants to see the extent. He's brought the PSA back down from 16 to 11. He wants to see what the blood reports are, but he is actually talking about every fortnight going to Townsville and doing a low dose of doxycycline. He didn't mention how many doses though.
Yeah. No, you've got what sounds like reasonably aggressive disease here, and I'd say you want to perhaps explore all the options, including radiopharmaceuticals that we've been talking about, lutetium, and there are trials with other variations of that technology. It's just good to be a step ahead in terms of strategic options. I think it doesn't hurt to suss it out, do a bit of research, a bit of chat with your oncologist.
Yep.
Just to so it helps you mentally too as well if you've got options ahead of you instead of no options.
Yeah, understand.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Ian. Any other
Thank
questions to Ian or comments to Ian? Or
No, except that I think Katie Owen's research, this is not medically available at the moment, obviously, but I think the research she's doing relates to bone cancer particularly, and the difficulties involved in treating that. So she may be able to add some pearls of wisdom to various options that might be available.
Well, if we could promote the one of the forthcoming meetings really actively, so and invite her along to do a presentation, that could be good.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that is sort of required to do in terms of PCFA funding. So, but it would be nice to have a bigger audience than 8.
absolutely, yeah.
Well, from her email to me the other day, I think she was fishing for an invite.
Yeah, I picked that up. I just, we don't want to miss that. But if we're going to do it, we should try and promote the thing a bit more explicitly through Facebook or elsewhere. So around some of the support groups.
Support groups as well, yeah.
PCFA could put a bulletin out, perhaps, Nev, to let her know that we've got a special event coming up, and wait for a couple of months, perhaps, so that we've got time for that.
Yeah, we need a bit of time to organise it.
Yeah, to filter through the
I'll be talking to her again, so I'll chase that down.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Let her know what we're planning to do too, perhaps, Tony, and we can.
Well, at the moment we're not doing anything. We're just having the guys come on and talk about their own situation, like we are today. So, do we have any plans there for the next 2 or 3 meetings?
No, it's just the same format. We haven't had a guest speaker for a long time because simply because we haven't had enough, and we haven't had anyone really to promote. But if we have someone like you're talking about to promote, we can make a concerted effort, because we don't want to bring someone along to 10 or 12 people. Yeah.
So perhaps, Tony, if you could check out the her intentions and availability in 2 or 3 months' time. We don't want to start promoting it until we know she's on. But once we do know that, we can really give it a push.
Yeah,
it wouldn't hurt our membership either.
We get an awful lot of people that say they're going to come to a meeting and they don't come. We get a lot of people that look at the video, so we do, and make comments and all that sort of thing. But but to have a video, you have to have actually live people to make it. So it's a bit of a catch-22. So it is. But anyway, I really appreciate everyone that's turned up here today and put in their 2 bob's worth. It's been truly good. Anyone else got a comment or question?
Most support groups, I think, find that if they lay on good guest speakers reasonably regularly, their membership goes up and their attendance goes up.
Yeah.
There's something to learn.
Yeah. Yes, Peter? You're on mute. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I'm just curious as to if there's any restrictions for participation in this Zoom meeting at all, Nev. And the reason I ask is because the support group I'm with, the Moreton Bay one, we're having our monthly smoko on Saturday morning, and I'm quite happy to put the word out, but I wasn't sure if there was any sort of restriction that you had to have advanced prostate cancer or just prostate cancer to actually
high risk or advanced. High risk or advanced. I think the Moreton Bay group are well aware of us.
Yeah, no, I can talk with a few of them on Saturday if you wish.
Go by all means, Peter. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So our name now is High Risk and Advanced Zoom Group.
But on PCFA's Facebook, it comes up as advanced first to get us on top of the list. So it does. Otherwise we'd be at the bottom of the list. So if you've got to be at the top of the list, or you might as well not be on the list.
Correct.
So anyway, that's just how it works. So different names for different places for different reasons. So, but yeah. Rightio, if there's nothing further, I'm sorry you couldn't get here earlier, Ian. Appreciate you've made the effort anyway and persevered.
We're set up now, so we'll be right next time.
Good on you.
Next month.
We'll be on the video as well.
Rightio. Righto. If no one else has got anything, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone that committed today, and Mark especially. It's good to see you back, and I hope you can keep up your regime or get back into your regime, because I know you used to have a regime, and I'm sure you've got the commitment to do it in the future. All the very best.
Thanks very much, Nev. Thank you.
Yeah,
thanks,
you're
guys.
And the West Indies are now 7 for 87.
Wow.